I'd just like to make people aware of what may happen, or probably will happen, if you defend a speeding ticket, especially one issued by way of a speed camera device. This particular incident that happened to me happened in Queensland, although there is every chance that the same thing happens in other states. I'll just give you a quick outline first. Quite some years ago, about 12 years ago, I defended a speeding ticket in Mount Isa. When I defended it, when I appeared to answer the summons, which is the first part of the process after you advise you're going to plead not guilty, and the prosecutor at that stage, a bloke called Gregory Mackenzie, a sergeant of Mount Isa Police, was sort of smiling to himself and said, well, if you defend it, we'll get an expert witness up and that'll cost you $4,000, and because you're disagreeing with the way the radar was operated. And that was completely wrong. I was not defending it on those grounds. I was defending on the fact that the police had acted unlawfully and were happily booking people during school holidays in a school zone. So what should have happened was that the policemen who were issuing the tickets, and also probably the officer in charge at Mount Isa, should have been charged with perverting the course of justice and fraud, deprivation of liberty, and quite a few other things. And no surprise to anyone, absolutely nothing happened. I've been trying since 2006 to make sure all the other people who were booked that day, and I know there were other people booked, be refunded their money and their demerit points. And basically the police don't care, and they just want you to go away and shut up, basically. Right, having said that, I'm actually a former member of Queensland Police. I was also a member of the traffic branch for quite some years. I was an authorised operator of speed detection devices. So to a certain extent I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to it. And however, I'm also a believer in the presumption of innocence and the onus of proof and all the other things that go along with our system of justice, and those are not concepts that are familiar to a lot of police these days. They just believe you should shut up, pay the ticket, and don't interfere with the government raising money. Anyone who says that the speed devices, in particular speed cameras, are not designed to raise as much money as humanly possible, then good luck to you. But if you believe that, I've got a big bridge in Sydney that I'd like to sell you. It just isn't true. Right, in this, the incident that I'm talking about, I actually got a ticket for travelling at 67. A ticket was issued against my vehicle, because they don't even pretend to worry about who was actually driving. In Brisbane, 67 in a 60 zone. I defended the case on the grounds that when I saw the device, the way it was set up, and this actually was a speed camera, that it was aimed directly at a bus stop. I believe that it was actually a radar device, and when a device is set up in that nature, or in that way, there is a thing called double bounce or reflection, which means that the microwave beam is actually deflected away and can hit a third vehicle and give a false reading. It's actually a quite well known and recognised problem with radar devices. However, as I found out later, the device that's actually in speed cameras in Queensland is not a radar device. It works on a completely different system, a very complex thing. However, I was still not contesting the accuracy of the device, because I believe that devices, as long as they're calibrated, and there's no way you can prove that they are, very difficult to prove that they were not calibrated properly. So you fight it on other matters, and I believe, because I was told, even one of the magistrates said it was a radar device, and so I thought I had a good case. It went to, I answered the summons. The magistrate asked me whether I was contesting the accuracy of the radar. I said no, because I knew from what had happened in Mount Isa, I was aware they would probably ask that question, and so it went on from there. When it was set for a hearing, when I arrived at the court some months later and ready to contest the charge, the same prosecutor was there from when I answered the summons, and it was quite a long story, but in effect she said, we are just going to produce paperwork that proves that the device was operated properly and therefore you haven't got a leg to stand on. I said, well, I want to, I'll be asking the operator questions, and she said, you will not be because the operator is not here. And I said, well, how are you presenting a prosecution if the person making the allegation against me is not here? She said, because you have not, you are not contesting the accuracy of the device. And I said, but that makes absolutely no difference. I said, surely I'm allowed to question the person who's making the allegation against me. And she just kept saying, unless you actually say that you are contesting the accuracy of the device, we will not produce the operator. And I said, but at the same time, you want me to open myself up to $4,000 or $5,000 in costs due to the expert witness? She said, yes. And I said, so this is aimed entirely at getting me to plead guilty, which it is. That's the whole basis of this, is people go in, and if you think I'm wrong, go find out which court in your city or whatever, or what day traffic matters are up and are presented. Go along and just sit in the back of the court and just watch people go up and look at their faces when the magistrate or the prosecutor says to them, if you contest this, you are looking at $4,000 or $5,000 in costs. And 99.9% of people just go, there's no way I can justify putting myself at risk for that. Now, people say that I'm crazy or whatever, but as I said, I thought I had a really good case, and so I actually, under direction, and I would say duress, because it is now, I'm actually making complaints against two of the prosecutors involved, a person from Main Roads who filled out a form which contained false information about the registration of my vehicle. Sounds trivial, but it's still a false document. And the other one is the device operator also put down the wrong street. He said he was working on Moggle Road and he was actually working on Milton Road in Brisbane, and so I believe that's a false document. Why the magistrate did not view that as a reason to dismiss the charge is something which I will never know, but that's what happened. I was convicted of the charge. That's not a great drama. What I did disagree with was the amount of costs that were awarded against me. I was actually interviewed on a current affair, so a couple of months ago, and that I spoke for about an hour to the reporter, and you get about 3 minutes on the screen, so it's very difficult to actually put the whole story up to people and actually explain what happened and what goes on in the court, and how people are harassed and put in a position where they feel that they just simply cannot go ahead with any sort of defence against the charge. And that is our right. Under our system of law, we have the right to defend ourselves, and the police and the government and the judiciary, as far in my personal opinion, are doing everything they can to stop that. They want people just to shut up, pay your money, pay your ticket, get out, move on. We'll keep your money and spend it on stupid things. Anyway, during the case, the magistrate actually said that there was no reason for the expert witness to be called if all I was doing was, if I said I hadn't been, I didn't